Hey everyone, Paul ISM, welcome to another video build. Today we're going to be starting Hobby Design's 124th Nissan R33 400R. So yes, we're going to start this excellent kit. There's a review of this on the channel already. Go and have a look at that. It looks a really nice kit. I was umming and ahhing about this kit for quite a while, and I literally Googled the car itself and found this deep marine blue coloured one that had just sold, well, not long ago at auction for a ridiculous amount of money. I think it sold for like $500,000. Crazy amount of money. The blue with the white wheels, I was like, wow. And it was my total inspiration for buying the kit and building it. So I'm going to try and replicate that today on here. So it's £160 the kit, I think it was 150. It was on offer at 150. Not a cheap kit, full multimedia kit, resin, photo etch, etc. Really nice wheels in the kit as well, which was really nice to see. I think as an overall package, it looks a decent kit. So let's jump in and get started with the build. Don't forget, you can get early access as a patron on these builds. You can get a month over. It's over a month early access at the minute. You get a Saturday bench update every single week. You get a 10% off discount code of Pro Scale Paints. That varies on the tier of support you give. And you also get added to a Facebook Messenger chat on Facebook and a Facebook group. And you get access, like I say, all the early access on the videos. You can go back through all the back catalogue as well. There's a couple of exclusive videos on Patreon as well. And you keep me being able to do these videos. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's crack on with the build. Hey, so the start of the build, the usual checking off of all the parts. So we've gone through, as you see, my little sheet to the right there, all highlighted all the parts, gone through, made sure we're all there. We just had a quick test fit of that front bumper, which actually fits absolutely fantastic. And on the wheels, I noticed a little bit of flash in between the spokes. So using a cotton bud, just twirling it round inside there, just snags all the flash and pulls it off. Nothing to really clean up, just the smallest amount of flash. And that's it. So these are all the body parts or parts that I need painting up separately. So we've got some chrome work on the wheels, we've got some carbon work on the spoiler, and then paint work on the body, the bumper, and the wing mirrors, etc. Starting off with our rescribing, using our Holly rescriber. We're just going to go through and lightly rescribe all the lines. Now, I don't tend to do this for any depth. They are normally deep enough out the box. But I do like to clear out anything that may be in there, maybe from the moulding process or whatever. And I just tend to go through, no real pressure on it, and just very lightly rescribe. Now be careful of this. Resin, if you slip, is very easily marked, and the scriber will go deep into it, a lot deeper than plastic. So just take your time here. These Holly scribers, in my opinion, are definitely some of the best you can get. They're just a little bit more difficult to get a hold of. But the fingertip control is invaluable when rescribing, in my opinion. So like I say, just going all around the model, just lightly rescribing all the panel lines, not really trying to add any depth, just clearing out anything that may be in there and any areas that might not be as well defined. I tend to find on the rear bumpers here, where it meets the inner arch, it's quite often not as well defined. It just needs a quick run through to kind of open it back up. But it's easily done. But like I say, just take your time. You'd be surprised how soft resin is compared to plastic, and sanding it back can be a little bit of a nightmare. So just take your time, be careful, and thorough. So really nice body shell on this, nice and clean out the box. The spoiler's already mounted, the actual mount's already on the boot lid itself, so that makes life a lot easier too. We're going to go around now with our Tamiya 2000 grit sponge and just scuff all the body up. Now, we're doing this for two reasons. Get rid of anything that may be on the body as an imperfection, which there very rarely is on these body shells. This is actually a Hobby Design kit, but it is technically alpha. They are one and the same, I believe. But more importantly, we're just going around and putting thousands of micro abrasions in the finish. The thousands of micro abrasions give us a lot more grip for the primer to get a hold of the resin. Now, resin doesn't seem to grip paint as well as plastic, so it's a very important stage to do, in my opinion. Of all the paint pulls where paint's peeled off over the years, It's nearly always been on resin, so thoroughly key it with some decent sponge sanders like these 2000 grit Tamiyas, and then a degrease is very, very important afterwards. After giving it a go over the sander, I did spot a couple of pieces I missed rescribing, and thought we'll just go through again and give them another go. So don't forget, just because you finish one stage doesn't mean you can't go back and redo another bit. But I just thought I'd just give it a bit more depth in the panel line here, especially as it's the door, because it's quite a prominent one on the model. So like I say, don't forget, you can always go back a step. Once you're done with all the sanding and rescribing, an old toothbrush here. This was my boy's when he was younger. Nice old soft toothbrush. We'll get all the dust and debris out of those panel lines and out all those recesses. And just having one final look around the whole kit. A little bit of dust in the light lenses there, so cotton bud in there is a good tool. Just check everything, because this is where preparation is key. As we always say, it is a very important step. So another nice soft toothbrush, and we've got some Pro Scale paint, pre-paint degreaser. Now the reason I use a toothbrush primarily on resin is to get all the nooks and crannies. There's a lot of light lenses, grills, intakes, a lot of recesses, so I want to get the toothbrush in there to ensure we get any mold release or any nasties that may be left behind. And don't forget your hands as well. Your hands are a prime culprit of putting nasties on the bodies of our models. You know, we emit oil on our skins. You could have been eating a bag of crisps, a sausage, you know, anything at all. We all know if you handle a sausage, you should wash your hands anyway. But yeah, go around with the toothbrush, thoroughly degrease it all. Now, I have actually done it quite the wrong way around here. I should have mounted it first. Ooh, don't mount it with your sausage. Anyway, back to the build. I've got my painted Bretland Alpha model holder here, made out of some tongue depressors, an old bottle, and some 3M sticky pads. And we're going to stick the model to it to make sure it's nice and secure. And what I'm going to do, the body still has pre-painted greaser on it. Once we've got it mounted, where I've had my grubby mitts, I'm going to go around with a clean piece of tissue and wipe it all down. In the booth, we've got some Pro Scale Paints Grey Microfiller Primer. We've got my Water Revolution CR3, which is a 0.3mm needle airbrush. We're at 18 psi. I'm just giving it all a blow over to get any dust off. I've given it a wipe over the Tamiya anti-static brush as well. And we're just going to put down several light coats of grey primer. So this is a microfiller primer, so it goes on a little bit thicker than normal primers, and it will dry with a slight texture. And the idea of that is it's like a high build primer. So once you've primed it all, if you flat it back with a 3000 grit Tamiya sponge, which we do in a minute, it will help infill any micro imperfections on the surface, and the surface will end up super, super smooth. Primer, in my opinion, is one of the most important steps in modelling, especially on cars, in my opinion, because not only will it help you spot any imperfections in the bodywork, which is something I've started to do more and more lately on car body shells, is put a guide coat of primer down first, then have a look and make sure I've got nowhere I've misscribed or I've marked, or there's a sink mark in the body, and then you can go back and rectify it, because quite often they don't show until you've got a couple of coats of primer down. So not only that, it also helps with the paint adhesion, and it's just a very important step in modelling. And I know a lot of people skip it, even to this day. I see a lot of people do, "Oh, I haven't primed in 40 years, I've never had a problem." But we're trying to make the best we can, and these kits aren't cheap. In fact, no model kits are cheap anymore. They're all expensive in some degree. So you might as well give it the best job you possibly can. There's loads of good primers out there. Our primer is absolutely fantastic. Tamiya primer in the spray can's great. Mr. Surface is great. And use whatever one you use, or whichever one you prefer. Obviously, with Pro Scale paints, we recommend our own primer because they are compatible together. But I've had no issues spraying our paints over Tamiya and Mr. Surface primer. But like I say, very, very important step in modelling. And I think it's definitely one that shouldn't be skipped. Whether it's just to find imperfections in the body, help fill imperfections in the body, you've got some slight scratches or scuffs, or just for the paint adhesion. I think all three are important, really. So final coat of primer, I reckon we put about 4 coats of primer on this. Very, very light coats to start with, and on the last coat I'm putting down a slightly wetter coat. Now resin is different to plastic, resin's a lot more forgiving with paint, so you can put our paints down a little bit wetter on resin. With the normal paints, there's no real reason to, because it makes no difference in the finish. But on plastic, just be a little bit more careful, because while our paints are very forgiving, they are still a lacquer-based paint. So always put down nice light thin coats. Now I'm just concentrating on the front of this and getting all those nooks and crannies, all those intakes in and around the lights, the grills, and there's quite a lot of grills and little hidey holes on this thing, so just take your time, build it up nice and slow, and make sure you're going on and off the air every now and then. I don't tend to do it on every pass. You can see I've gone across the roof in one go there, but I'll come off for the next section, and that way if you get any paint build up on the tip, you're blowing off the model rather than getting it all over the model. And there we go. Found a bit of priming, a little bit on the spoiler. That looks good to me. Yep, good. I think, like I said, that's probably about 4 coats of primer there, I think. I lose track, if I'm honest, because I'm just kind of on autopilot. While we're here, we've got some Tamiya white primer. Now, because I can't get into the wheels to sand them properly, I'm going to go for Tamiya. So I have Tamiya spray can white primer decanted in one of our spare primer bottles. It's been thinned about 10% with Tamiya lacquer thinner with retarder, and it's going to put a couple of light coats down on our wheels. I've also got Mr. Hobby, Mr. Servicer 1500 black, which again, I've pre-thinned about 60-40 with Mr. Hobby level and thinner. I'm going to put a couple of coats down on the outer part of the wheel. So these are going to be chrome. So this is the start of the process of our chrome system. So again, the resin's been thoroughly cleaned and degreased. And we're going to put down a nice primer coat of black. And then we'll go through all the appropriate steps in our chrome system. So all through the Iwata HPC Plus. Sorry, no, it's not. The Iwata CR3, which is my preferred airbrush for putting down just standard paints. Now, we've got ProScale Paints Deep Marine Blue. I saw this colour on this car and fell in love with it, and it's one of the main reasons why I bought the kit. It's a beautiful blue colour. It just looks absolutely amazing. So mixed it up, put it on our website, and here we are. So again, Iwata CR3 0.3 Revolution at about 18 psi, and we're going to pour several coats of paint down. Nice thin layers of paint. We don't want to put them down heavy. There is no benefit at all. Our gloss coat will come from our 2K later on. But like I say, paying attention to all those nooks and crannies, because there's lots of intakes, there's lots of little scoops and grills and all sorts of little recesses on this. So we're just concentrating on coverage rather than getting coats of paint down. I think in total on this, I put about 8 coats of paint down on this. Our paint does cover really well, but I am putting super light coats down and just following the edge of the previous coat ever so slightly. So I've sped the footage up a little bit, otherwise it does get a little bit boring. So I'll pop some music on and we'll come back in a minute. I would say we were on about coat number 4 here. I've been going alternating passes, so we're going left to right on one coat and then up and down on the following one, and that will give us all nice coverage. You can see the blue is starting to build coverage really nicely now. That colour is absolutely stunning. But we continue putting our coat of paint down until we've got sufficient coverage. And there we go. I reckon that's 6 to 8 coats of paint. Coverage is absolutely beautiful. The colour is just absolutely amazing. It's a beautiful, deep, metallic blue colour. Looks absolutely stunning. It's gone down absolutely flawlessly, as our paints always do. And this is going to look absolutely amazing when 2K'd. So there we go. So, white for the wheels. We've got Porsche Pure White. This is probably the whitest white that we sell. So I thought, you know what? Perfect candidate for doing the wheels. So the wheels are going to be a chrome white mix. So a couple of coats of this, probably 3 or 4 coats on each wheel, making sure we get the backs of them as well. Luckily the wheels are in sections, so it makes them a lot easier to actually paint. And obviously we've got 4 in total. So yeah, give it a coat of paint, let it flash off for 5 minutes between coats, and then we can come back and crack on with these. Rear spoiler, 2 of these in total. So we've got a larger one and a smaller one. I'm just test fitting this to make sure it all fits before we commit to any carbon work. The paint's been drying for about 4 hours now, so it's well and truly dry. And we've got some carbon sheets in my water here. Now I believe, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, this is Tamiya carbon, I think. Or is this a Zoom on? I cannot remember. I think it's Tamiya. I think this is Tamiya carbon fibre. So I've cut a sheet roughly to size. So this should fold round and meet perfectly underneath. That is the plan anyway. So always put the larger piece on top so the join is underneath where you won't see it. And I'm just going to level it all up, equidistant each side. A little bit more. There we go, that'll roughly do. Then we get some UMP decal solutions. And we get this set in place. So remove all the moisture from around the decal just like normal. Make sure you get it all sat where you want it. I think I noticed a little bit of a bump in it, like there's a little bit of muck behind the decal there. So don't forget, you can always pull them back off. As long as you're nice and gentle, the decals are not something to be scared of. I noticed a lot of people seem to be terrified of decals. They're a lot more resilient than you think, especially this carbon film. It is very, very forgiving. So with all the moisture out the back, we're going to hit it with our heat gun. Just give it a gentle, quick heat. The heat and the actual blowing action of the heat gun helps to fold the decal around the back. There we go. So we fold most of it around with our fingers. Your fingers are an excellent decaling tool. Thankfully, we come with 8 of them. Yes, that's right. We have 8 fingers and 2 thumbs. And then some UMP decal solutions. This will be the UMP Strong, which is the middle ground strength one. We can get these set in place and then using a cotton bud, remove any excess decal solution and make sure we've burnished all the decal down. And there we go. As simple as that. A little bit of heat, a little bit of decal solution, and a little bit of patience. And we can also do the small one. Now be careful of the smaller one. This is a piece of resin, and it is a very delicate part. So same process. The decal just large enough to wrap around the back, and using our fingers to very carefully conform it around. A little bit of heat. Use a little bit less heat than the bigger piece because this is a thinner piece of resin, and resin will actually react to heat and bend. And then set it in place with our solutions. Now we've got the spoiler ends. There's 2 photo etch plates that go on the end of the spoiler. There's little recesses on the side of the body, which I didn't show it in the build, but I actually did have to use a micro chisel just to remove a little bit of like dried resin that was in there. So I actually missed that bit of footage off. So just literally used it and got it in there. Right, 2K time. So we've got several 2K sessions in this one, 3 in total. So this is the first step in our Chrome system. So ProScale paints 2K. We'll talk about it a little bit more in a bit. But it's a 2-to-1 system, 2 parts clear, 1 part activator, and then 5% thinner. Mix it up. Make sure you're gloved, you got your respirator on, yada yada yada, all the safety precautions, which again we'll talk about in a minute. And what we're going to do now is we're going to 2K clear coat the black rims, and that will give us our base for our chrome. So it's a case of mixing it all. Use medical grade medicine cups is a very, very important step. You'll find the cheaper ones that you pick up in like dollar stores or Poundland. they react with lacquer thinner and melt, and that melting plastic then reacts with the 2K and ruins it. And any pipettes, use them once, throw them away. So we're just going to put down a semi-wet coat and then a wet coat just to give us a nice 2K black. And this is the perfect base for our Chrome system. Chrome system's available on our website. There are full instructions on the website, as well as an instructional video, and we send out instructions with each Chrome set that we sell as well. So this is the second stage of our Chrome. First one was the black primer, then the first 2K. And we'll be back once this is dry to put the Chrome on, then put the sealer on, and then our final 2K. It sounds really long-winded. It's actually pretty simple. What I'm going to do here is line all these up and then angle the holder so it stays nice and flat, and the self-leveling properties of the 2K take effect properly. So there we go. There's step 2 of the Chrome system. That is now dried for a good 4 hours, and this is step 3. So we've got our Chrome on the right. This is pre-thinned out the bottle. We're going to spray several light coats of this, building it up slowly. You'll see the instant chrome effect on the 2K black. You don't want to hose it on. You're just building them nice and slow. And we're just getting all the angles, all the inside and the outside, front and back. And you can see the beautiful chrome finish. You do not need a lot at all. There we go. I've set my pressure down to 18 psi. And we're just putting very light coats down. That chrome will now dry, and while that's drying, we're going to do some decaling. So we've got these nice big white stripes down the side of the car. Now, I did worry about these, thinking would they be white enough or would the blue bleed through? And I very nearly put an LP9 barrier coat to clear coat down, and I'm glad I didn't, because the Hobby Design decals, absolutely fantastic, whiter than white, and they laid down absolutely perfect. So they laid in place absolutely spot on. I'm just getting them in there, getting all the moisture out from behind them, and then we're going to hit them with some UMP Ultra Modern Product Strong Decal Solution to get them set in place. A little bit of heat will also help as well. Just get them in, and the stripes on this car just look absolutely epic. This machine is phenomenal. It's an absolutely beautiful car, and I believe the real life car in this colour sold for like $500,000 recently. Crazy amount of money. But yeah, decals went down absolutely perfectly. UMP decal solutions working perfect as always. And then just removing any excess decal solution. And there we go. There's a side decal in place. We'll do exactly the same for the other side. And there we go. Once the decal's set and it's been in place for an hour or so, I got a brand new scalpel in my blade in my scalpel, and just slice through the decals in any of the panel lines. So just very direct and purposeful. Just slice it, don't be scared of it, just avoid the paintwork, and then a little dab of decal solutions in there, and I find dotting it with the brush helps push it into the panel line. So we just keep dabbing it and dabbing it and dabbing it. There we go. You'll find it settles itself into the panel line. You also may find a little bit of heat helps as well. But just be careful here at this stage. And this is an important stage to do. You don't want it sitting above the panel lines, because when we're going to put a wash in a bit, that can get under the decal. Any clear coats you use can get under the decal. And if they get under there, they'll lift the decal. It will literally float on the clear. So it's very important to make sure your decals are set in place properly. I say a little bit of heat. These heat guns off Amazon, dirt cheap to buy, like 10 to 15 pounds. Invaluable tool, much better than a hairdryer because they're not as powerful, so it doesn't blow everything across your desk. And boy, do they get hot. On the second setting, it will melt styrene, no problem whatsoever. So a very useful tool to have on the bench. And like I say, a little bit of heat, a little bit more decal solutions, a little bit more dabbing with the brush, and we'll get those decals perfectly set into the panel lines. Nice and simple. These look absolutely fantastic on the blue. So this little bit of PE, I'm probably doing this in the most awkward way I possibly could, but it worked at the time. Got a little dab of CA glue in the hole where these sit. It's a tiny little recess where these sit. So these have been painted in Mr. Surfacer 1500 black. a little tiny dab of Bob Smith's Super Gold, which, funny enough, we've just become stockists of on ProScale. You can get all your Bob Smith's glues from us over on ProScale now. Same for the other side as well. This just sits in. It should sit flush, but a little bit proud at the same time. So it'll sit in flat, but it's like concave. I can't remember which one it is now. It will sit proud a little bit. There are several other decals on the body as well. I'm literally just replicating the car I saw online, which, funny enough, well, the kit comes with all the correct decals anyway. So they're just all placed where they need to be. There we go. Quite a few decals on this, to be honest. But I thought it's important to put them all on. I'm not usually a fan of little decals like this all over cars, but I think on this, because it's such a significant car, I think it was worth the extra time putting the decals down. And then there are some little carbon 400R logos to go on those P bits at the back. So make sure your CA glue is all dry before you commit to this. And then get it all lined up properly in place, any moisture out from behind, and then hit it with the decal solutions again. And these look great. Really good kit this. I can't think of any real issue with the kit, other than I had a few problems with the hubs later on. I had to modify the hub a little bit to get a couple of the wheels to fit. But overall, really, really nice kit to build, and a truly iconic car as well. So Hobby Design decals, some of the best I've ever used. I really do enjoy using Hobby Design. They always come off the backing sheet quick, they lay down well, really vibrant, they react well to UMP decal solutions, and they always just set in place absolutely perfect. So top drawer stuff, absolutely fantastic. Right, we're back in the booth, and it's the next step of the chrome systems. This is the sealer. So the sealer is sprayed in really, really light mist coats, like unbelievably fine mist coats. And we're going to spray a fine mist coat all over this wheel. You can see the beautiful chrome effect we've got there. And then we're going to put it down, let it flash off for 5 minutes, and then come back and add a further 2 very, very light coats. You should literally see the mist of sealer hit the chrome, and that's it. It will dull the chrome a bit, but that will come back when we 2K it later on. But it's very important you follow all the directions for our chrome, and if you do, you will end up with an absolutely fantastic chrome finish that is almost impermeable to anything. Once it's 2K'd, it is safe to handle. You can put chemicals on it, you can decal it, and it will not lose any of its shininess whatsoever because the 2K totally protects it. So this sealer works absolutely brilliant. Like I say, 2 or 3 coats, let it flash off for 5 minutes in between, and then we're going to leave that to dry. Now, I've sped this footage up. I'm not sure what's going on with my camera. It's been playing up a little bit lately. This is what my old one did before it needed replacement, so I hope, I'm hoping this camera doesn't need replacing. But we're going to put the rivet detail on the outer edge of the wheel. And we've got some Vallejo model colour black and a cocktail stick, and we're just dabbing it on the raised detail on the wheel. Nice and simple. And because we're putting a water-based paint on a lacquer, if we make a mistake, which I think I'll do in a minute, we can wipe it off with a moist cotton bud if needed. So I sped this up because, well, it's a little bit boring to watch otherwise. But yeah, not sure what's going on the camera lately. It's having a bit of trouble autofocusing, and it's completely white bounced out here. I'm not sure what's going on with it. But anyway, there's all our riveting done. I'm happy with how that looks. Next up, we need to mask off and spray the centre of the wheel. So we've got our display circle cutter here, which we've got almost, and I mean almost a perfect size. It's just a micromillimeter out. I think it was just a shade too big. So the easiest way to rectify it is just put a little slit in one side, and that way you can pull it in on one side, and it makes it a little bit smaller. So just pop it in place on the outer edge, get it all lined up perfect. There we go, line it up, and then we can bring the piece we cut just over the top, and there we go, job done. So yeah, the centre of these wheels is silver. Quite a complex wheel to build, these ones, quite a lot of work, but they look absolutely stunning at the end, so they're well worth the time. And there we go, that's the centre done, and now we just need to infill the outer edges, and then we can take it to the spray booth and get some paint on it. So yeah, I'm just fighting with tape here. There we go. And there we go. Nice and safely done. There we go. Then we can shoot over to the spray booth. And we're going to use some Pro Scale Superfine Silver on this one. Looking at the colour, it looked the closest match for it. So making sure we've got it all covered. You can see all 4 wheels are done there. We're just going to put a couple of light coats in the centre of the wheel. Very, very light coats. We do not want to flood it at all. And it's a nice subtle effect, this. You've got to look quite close to see the metallic finish. But it does look really good on the finished wheel. And like I say, these are quite a complex wheel to do. To not only build and paint, but assemble as well. There's a few parts of these, including tyre valves. But as you see, once we pull this masking off, you can see the metallic centre of the wheel. And yeah, it looks really, really good. We've also got decals to go on. There's 2 decals per rim as well. So a lot of work in these wheels. Quite a lot of work. Again, decals going on, no problem at all. They wouldn't quite sit where they do on the real car because obviously with the scale of the wheel and the decal was a little bit overscaled in my opinion. But nonetheless, they went down well and they looked absolutely spot on. We also put a Tamiya black panel line wash in the centre hub of that wheel as well to accentuate all the road wheel nuts. And then setting the decals in place with UMP decal solutions. We then got a much finer, thinner decal on the other side as well. And again, get all the moisture out from behind it and hit it with some UMP strong decal solution. Get them all lined up. There we go. Once they're happy, get the decal solutions on it. And there we go. And like I say, a little bit of a pin wash in the middle. We don't want to go mad. Just accentuate where the road wheel nuts would be. And again, just adds a bit of depth to it. Makes it a little bit less monotone. Once that's dry, we'll wipe out any excess. And there we go. Right, final stage of the wheels. There we go. Seems a long way going, but we've got there. Is a 2K. So mixed up exactly the same as normal. 2 parts clear to 1 part activator. But most importantly with the last stage of the chrome is no thinner. The thinner will react with the sealer and we don't want that. So it's unthinned, straight out the airbrush. We're at 20 odd PSI. I'm just going to put a couple of light coats down, a semi-gloss coat to begin with, and then a full wet coat to begin with, to end with. And that should give us a nice glossy chrome finish. As I say, you will have lost a little bit of the chrome finish from the sealer. But once the 2K goes on and starts to settle in place, that chrome should come back. And these looked absolutely beautiful once they're done. Absolutely fantastic. So, while it looks like it's a bit long-winded, it's actually really simple to do. And it is by far the best chrome system I've used in the past. With the chrome dry now, it's about 4 or 5 hours later. As you can see, I've got every single drill bit I own on the bench. Looking for the appropriate size, which I had, and then snapped like a moron. Anyway, we've drilled out the rim. You can see my head there, so apologies for that. And we're putting in the teeny tiny turned tie valves in there with a little dab of CA glue. And then a little dab of glue on the back of the wheel, or the front of the wheel on the very outer edge. We can finally get all this wheel assembled. There we go, and then pop it through the correct way. Got a tyre mounted as well. And there we go. A little bit of push together, get the tyre sitting right. And there we go. We're going to leave that there today. We'll be back for part 2 very, very soon. So thanks for watching. And as always, if you want to get access to these videos, you can become a patron. And as you can see at the end of the video, thank you to all my current patrons. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.